Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at how the ancient world is still impacting us, even thousands of years later.
It's really remarkable how these ancient inventions and ideas has shaped our modern world.
And we've got a fascinating article to guide our conversation. It's called Ancient World's Impact on Today.
I think our listeners are going to be surprised by some of the connections we uncover today.
Definitely. Get ready for some aha moments as we explore how civilizations from the past are still connected to the world we live in today.
I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, let's start with something that literally changed the world. The wheel.
Yes, the wheel, so simple yet so profound.
We all know about its role in transportation.
Mm,
I mean, imagine a world without cars or bikes.
right. But it's really the wheel's application to machinery that I find fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. The wheel is the basis for rotary motion, which
Yeah.
is fundamental to countless machines.
Exactly. Take water wheels, for instance. They used the power of flowing water to turn a wheel, which in turn powered mills for grinding grain.
It's like this simple invention unleashed a whole new world of possibility.
And it didn't stop there. Gears, cogs, and even propellers all stem from the principle of the wheel.
It's mind-blowing to think that the invention of the wheel in ancient Mesopotamia essentially laid the groundwork for the Industrial Revolution and even the digital age.
Imagine trying to build a computer without the concept of rotating parts.
Right. Hard drives, for example, rely on spinning disks to store and retrieve information.
It all goes back to that simple yet brilliant invention.
So the next time you see a wheel, just take a moment to appreciate its profound impact on human history.
I think I will.
Okay, let's move on to another groundbreaking invention, the printing press. This one's particularly interesting to me because of how it revolutionized information sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Before Johannes Gutenberg's printing press in the 15th century, knowledge was essentially trapped in handwritten manuscripts accessible only to a select few.
It's hard to imagine a world where books were so rare and expensive, right?
Right. But Gutenberg's invention, with its movable type, allowed for mass production of books, making knowledge more affordable and accessible to a wider audience.
It's like the difference between sending a handwritten letter and posting something online for the whole world to see.
That's a great analogy. But the printing press's impact goes beyond just making books more available.
In what way?
Well, think about the Protestant Reformation, which was fueled by the printing press's ability to quickly disseminate Martin Luther's ideas.
Oh, right. It allowed for the rapid spread of new ideas and challenged the authority of the church.
Exactly. Or consider the scientific revolution, where scientists could share their discoveries with a broader audience, leading to a rapid acceleration of scientific progress.
So the printing press essentially democratized knowledge.
Precisely. It empowered people to think for themselves and challenge established norms.
That's a powerful thought. And in a way, it paved the way for the internet, which has taken information sharing to an entirely new level.
The internet has certainly amplified our ability to share information, but it's also brought new challenges like misinformation and the creation of echo chambers.
That's a great point. It makes you wonder if there are any parallels between the challenges of the printing press era and the ones we face today with the internet.
Well, while the technologies are different, the underlying challenges of managing information flow, ensuring accuracy, and promoting critical thinking remain remarkably similar.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and the responsibility that comes with it.
Absolutely. Just as the printing press sparked debates about censorship and the spread of dangerous ideas, the internet has sparked debates about online content moderation and the spread of misinformation.
It's a reminder that with every new technology comes new responsibilities and the need to think critically about its impact.
I completely agree.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about something a bit more tangible. Concrete. I have to admit, I never really thought of concrete as a revolutionary invention until I read this article.
It's easy to overlook, but concrete has played a crucial role in shaping our modern world.
I mean, it's everywhere we look, from sidewalks and roads to skyscrapers and bridges.
Exactly. And the ancient Romans were pioneers in concrete technology.
Oh, that's right. They used it to create those awe-inspiring structures like the Colosseum and the Pantheon, which are still standing today.
The Colosseum is a great example. It showcases the Romans' mastery of concrete construction with its massive arches and tiers.
I'm picturing it right now. Those arches are a perfect example of the Romans' architectural ingenuity, right?
You're absolutely right. The arch, along with the vault and the dome, were key elements of Roman architecture.
They allowed them to create such strong and spacious structures.
Exactly. The Basilica of Maxentius, for instance, showcases the impressive scale and grandeur that could be achieved with vaulted ceilings, and of course the Pantheon's iconic dome is a testament to the Romans' mastery of concrete construction.
It's just incredible to think that these ancient structures, built with a material we often take for granted, have stood the test of time and continue to inspire us today.
They really are a testament to the ingenuity and craftsmanship of the ancient Romans.
Speaking of enduring legacies, let's move on to the invention that helps us track time and organize our lives, the calendar.
Calendars might seem mundane, but they've played a crucial role in human civilization, allowing us to plan, coordinate, and understand the cyclical nature of time.
From birthdays to holidays to important deadlines, calendars help us make sense of time and keep our lives running smoothly.
And long before the Gregorian calendar we use today, ancient civilizations developed their own systems for measuring time.
I'm curious to know more about these early calendars. What were some of the key factors that shaped their development?
Well, agriculture was a major driver. Ancient civilizations needed to know when to plant and harvest crops, so they developed calendars based on the seasons and the cycles of the sun.
That makes sense.
The Egyptians, for example, had a solar calendar with 365 days, divided into 12 months of 30 days, each with 5 extra days added at the end.
Wow, that's pretty close to our modern calendar.
It is, and it wasn't just about agriculture. Religion and social events also played a role in the development of calendars.
Right. Certain cultures needed to track religious festivals and ceremonies.
Absolutely. The Sumerians, for instance, developed a lunar calendar with months based on the phases of the moon. Their calendar was closely tied to their religious beliefs and festivals.
So even in ancient times, people were grappling with the complexities of reconciling lunar and solar cycles.
Precisely. They also had a system of intercalation, which involved adding an extra month every few years to keep the lunar calendar aligned with the solar year.
So those early calendars laid the groundwork for the more standardized and accurate systems we use today.
It's amazing how much thought and ingenuity went into these early calendars.
And that our ability to track time and organize our lives is deeply rooted in the innovations of ancient civilizations.
It's a reminder that even the most complex systems often have humble beginnings.
Speaking of navigating the world, let's talk about the compass. This invention revolutionized exploration and trade, allowing people to venture further and connect across vast distances.
Before the compass, navigation relied heavily on celestial observations, landmarks, and guesswork.
It must have been incredibly challenging to navigate the open seas or uncharted territories without a reliable way to determine direction.
It was. But the compass, invented in ancient China over 2,000 years ago, provided a reliable way to determine direction regardless of weather conditions or visibility.
So it really opened up a whole new world of possibilities for exploration and trade.
Exactly. Early compasses used lodestone, a naturally occurring magnetic rock, to align with the Earth's magnetic field.
Wow, so they were harnessing the power of magnetism even back then.
They were. And over time, the design evolved to include a floating needle and a circular compass card with directional markings, making it more accurate and user-friendly.
The compass wasn't just a tool for exploration. It also played a crucial role in the development of trade routes, connecting different parts of the world and facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures.
Think about the Silk Road, a network of trade routes that span thousands of miles connecting East Asia with Europe.
Oh, right. The Silk Road was a major conduit for trade and cultural exchange for centuries.
The compass was essential for navigating these vast distances, opening up new possibilities for commerce and cultural exchange.
So it's fascinating to think how the compass not only helped people find their way geographically, but also helped shape the course of human history.
It's a testament to the power of innovation and its ability to connect people and ideas across vast distances.
Okay, let's talk about another invention from ancient China that had a major impact on the world: gunpowder.
Gunpowder. Now that's an invention with a bit of a bang.
I know, right?
Right.
It's ironic that a substance initially used for medicinal purposes by Taoist alchemists would become one of the most significant military inventions in human history.
It just goes to show how inventions can have unintended consequences.
So gunpowder, a mixture of sulfur charcoal and saltpeter, was initially used in fireworks and for ceremonial purposes.
Right, but its potential for warfare quickly became apparent.
The development of firearms, cannons, and explosives revolutionized warfare, leading to significant shifts in military tactics, strategies, and the balance of power.
The use of gunpowder in warfare had a profound impact on the course of history, contributing to the rise and fall of empires.
From ancient battles to modern fireworks displays, gunpowder's legacy is both awe-inspiring and sobering.
It's a reminder of the duality of human ingenuity capable of creating both beauty and destruction.
Okay, now let's move on to something a bit less explosive, but equally essential to our modern lives, paper. Can you imagine a world without paper?
It's hard to fathom, isn't it? No books, no notebooks, no art.
It's truly one of those inventions that we take for granted until we stop and consider its impact.
Paper, invented in ancient China by Cai Lun, revolutionized the way we communicate, record information, and express ourselves creatively.
Before paper, people were writing on bamboo strips, silk, and even animal hides.
Can you imagine lugging around a library made of bamboo?
Talk about a heavy reading load.
Paper was lighter, more portable, and easier to produce. This allowed for the creation of books, scrolls, maps, and countless other documents, making knowledge more accessible and facilitating the spread of literacy.
And it's not just about writing, right? Paper also became a canvas for art, allowing artists to experiment with new techniques and express their creativity in new ways.
Absolutely. Think about the intricate calligraphy of ancient Chinese scrolls or the delicate watercolors of Japanese woodblock prints.
It provided a versatile and affordable medium for artistic expression.
And its journey didn't stop there. The invention of paper also led to the development of paper money in ancient China.
Oh, right. That was a game changer for trade and finance, making transactions easier and more secure than using bulky coins or bartering goods.
It's fascinating to see how paper, a seemingly simple material, has had such a far-reaching impact on human history, from its origins in ancient China to its ubiquitous presence in our modern lives.
Now let's move on to another area where ancient civilizations made significant contributions: government and justice.
The ancient world was a melting pot of different forms of governance, from monarchies and empires to oligarchies and democracies.
These ancient systems laid the groundwork for the development of modern political systems and ideas about justice and equality.
Let's start with ancient Greece, the birthplace of democracy.
The word democracy comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning rule. So it literally means rule by the people.
In ancient Athens, citizens had the right to participate in government, vote on laws, and hold public office.
It was a radical departure from the monarchies and empires that dominated much of the ancient world.
It certainly was. Now, it's important to note that Athenian democracy, while groundbreaking, was also limited.
Oh, right. Only male citizens could participate, excluding women, slaves, and foreigners.
Exactly. But even with these limitations, it was a revolutionary concept that inspired later generations to strive for more inclusive and participatory forms of government.
The idea that ordinary people could have a voice in government and hold their leaders accountable was a powerful concept.
Absolutely. And while Athenian democracy was direct, meaning citizens voted directly on laws, the ancient Romans developed a different form of government, the Republic.
So how did the Roman Republic differ from Athenian democracy?
Well, the Roman Republic emphasized representative government, where citizens elected officials to represent their interests and make decisions on their behalf.
So more like a system of elected representatives.
Precisely. They also developed a complex system of checks and balances to prevent any one person or group from accumulating too much power.
So in a way, the Roman Republic was a precursor to modern democracies like the United States, where we elect representatives to Congress and the president.
You could say that. The Roman Republic's emphasis on the rule of law, civic duty, and the separation of powers had a profound impact on the development of modern political thought.
It's amazing how these ancient ideas about governance and justice have shaped our world today.
And their legal system, codified in the 12 Tables, became a model for later legal systems, influencing concepts like due process and the right to a fair trial.
So the next time we go to court or vote in an election, we can thank the ancient Greeks and Romans for laying the groundwork for our modern legal and political systems.
It's a reminder that we're all part of a long and complex history of political and social evolution.
Now let's move on to an area where ancient civilizations truly excelled: art and architecture.
From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the majestic temples of Greece and the grand Colosseum of Rome, ancient civilizations left behind a legacy of artistic and architectural wonders that continue to inspire us today.
It's incredible to think that these structures, built with the limited technology of the time, have stood the test of time and continue to captivate our imaginations.
Let's start with ancient Greece, a civilization that placed a high value on beauty, harmony, and balance.
The Greeks were known for their exquisite sculptures and their elegant temples.
Greek art and architecture embodied these ideals, emphasizing proportion, symmetry, and a sense of order.
Like the Parthenon in Athens.
Exactly. The Parthenon, with its iconic columns, intricate sculptures, and harmonious proportions, became a model for classical architecture.
And the Greeks also excelled in sculpture, creating lifelike statues that captured the human form in all its grace and power.
Think about the discus thrower or the Venus de Milo, iconic representations of the human form that continue to inspire artists today.
They really captured the essence of human movement and emotion.
And Greek art wasn't just about aesthetics, it also served a purpose. Sculptures often adorned temples and public spaces, conveying stories from mythology, celebrating victories, or honoring gods and goddesses.
They were an integral part of Greek culture and religion.
Exactly.
Now let's move on to the Romans, who were known for their grandeur, practicality, and mastery of engineering.
The Romans were prolific builders, creating a vast network of roads, aqueducts, bridges, and public buildings that connected their empire and left a lasting mark on the landscape.
They were masters of concrete construction, as we discussed earlier, and they also pioneered the use of new materials like marble and brick.
And they weren't afraid to think big, were they? The Colosseum, a massive amphitheater that could hold over 50,000 spectators, is a testament to their ambition and engineering prowess.
It's a symbol of Roman entertainment, but also a reminder of the complex social and political dynamics of the Roman world.
The Romans also excelled in urban planning, designing cities with grid layouts, public forums, bathhouses, and temples.
Their cities were centers of commerce, culture, and political life, influencing the development of urban centers throughout history.
And speaking of leaving a lasting mark, let's not forget the ancient Egyptians, whose pyramids and temples have become iconic symbols of ancient civilization.
The pyramids are truly awe-inspiring. It's hard to believe they were built thousands of years ago without modern technology.
The Egyptians were masters of stone carving, creating massive structures with intricate hieroglyphics, colossal statues, and elaborate tombs.
Their pyramids built as tombs for pharaohs are a testament to their engineering skill, organizational abilities, and religious beliefs.
They were also astronomical observatories aligned with the stars and embodying complex religious symbolism.
And let's not forget that the Egyptians were also pioneers in sustainable building designs. Their temples, for example, often featured open courtyards, colonnades, and ventilation shafts that maximize natural light and airflow.
They kept the interiors cool and comfortable in the hot Egyptian climate.
It's remarkable how ancient civilizations were already thinking about sustainability and incorporating it into their architectural designs.
It's a lesson we can learn from them as we strive to create more sustainable buildings and cities today.
Now let's shift our focus to the realm of literature and mythology, where ancient civilizations left behind a treasure trove of stories that continue to shape our understanding of the human experience.
From epic poems to creation myths, ancient literature explored universal themes of love, loss, heroism, and the search for meaning.
These stories passed down through generations continue to inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers today.
Let's start with ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, where we find one of the oldest known works of literature, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Oh, that's right. The Epic of Gilgamesh tells the story of a Sumerian king's quest for immortality.
It's a tale of adventure, friendship, loss, and the acceptance of mortality written on clay tablets over 4,000 years ago.
It's amazing to think that a story written so long ago can still resonate with us today, exploring themes that are timeless and universal.
The Epic of Gilgamesh also had a significant influence on later works of literature, including the Bible.
Oh, in what way?
Well, the story of the Great Flood, for example, bears striking similarities to the flood narrative in the Epic of Gilgamesh, suggesting cultural exchange and the transmission of ideas across ancient civilizations.
It's fascinating to see how stories and ideas traveled and evolved across time and cultures.
It shows how interconnected we are across time and space.
Now let's move on to ancient Greece, where we find a rich tradition of mythology and epic poetry.
Greek mythology, with its pantheon of gods and goddesses, heroes and monsters, has captivated imaginations for centuries.
Their stories are filled with drama, intrigue, and larger-than-life characters.
From Zeus, the king of the gods, to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, to Heracles, the legendary hero known for his strength, these figures represent archetypes and embody human aspirations and anxieties.
And Greek mythology wasn't just about entertainment. It also provided a framework for understanding the world, explaining natural phenomena, and exploring moral and ethical dilemmas.
And let's not forget the epic poems of Homer, the Iliad, and the Odyssey.
These poems are considered cornerstones of Western literature, influencing countless writers and artists throughout history. What makes them so enduring?
Well, the Iliad recounts the Trojan War, a legendary conflict between the Greeks and the Trojans, sparked by the abduction of Helen, the wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta.
Ah, yes, the face that launched 1,000 ships.
It's a tale of love, betrayal, rage, and the horrors of war, but also a celebration of heroism, courage, and the bonds of brotherhood.
And the Odyssey follows the long and perilous journey of Odysseus, a Greek hero, as he tries to return home after the Trojan War.
He faces storms, monsters, and the wrath of the gods, but ultimately prevails through his cunning resilience and unwavering desire to reunite with his family.
It's a story of adventure, but also a meditation on the themes of homecoming identity and the challenges of navigating life's unpredictable journey.
And speaking of overcoming obstacles, we can't talk about the ancient world without mentioning the Great Wall of China, a monumental testament to human ingenuity and determination.
It stretches for thousands of miles, winding its way across mountains, deserts, and plains. It's hard to fathom the scale of this undertaking.
The Great Wall, built over centuries to protect China's northern borders from invaders, is a symbol of resilience, national pride, and the power of collective effort.
It's a true wonder of the ancient world and a reminder that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome with perseverance and collaboration.
The Great Wall stands as a testament to the ingenuity, resilience, and collaborative spirit of ancient civilizations. And as we delve deeper into ancient world's impact on today, it becomes increasingly clear that our world is built upon the foundations laid by those who came before us.
From the practical innovations like the wheel, the printing press, and concrete, to the philosophical inquiries into justice, democracy, and the meaning of life, the ancient world has bequeathed us a rich tapestry of ideas, inventions, and artistic expressions that continue to shape our lives.
It's like we're standing on the shoulders of giants benefiting from their knowledge, creativity, and struggles.
And it's important to remember that this story is still being written. We are all part of this ongoing narrative, building upon the legacy of the past and shaping the world for future generations.
That's a great point. It's easy to think of history as something static and distant, but the reality is that we're constantly interacting with the past, reinterpreting it, and drawing inspiration from it.
Think about the way artists and writers continue to draw inspiration from ancient myths and stories, reimagining them for modern audiences and exploring timeless themes that resonate across cultures and time periods.
Or the way architects and designers incorporate elements of classical architecture into their modern buildings, creating a dialogue between the past and the present.
The ancient world is not a closed book. It's an ongoing source of inspiration, innovation, and reflection.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. What do you think is the most significant legacy of the ancient world? And what contributions will our generation make to this ever-evolving story?
Those are great questions to reflect on. We've explored a wide range of topics, from groundbreaking inventions to profound philosophical ideas to artistic masterpieces.
But ultimately, the true legacy of the ancient world lies in its enduring ability to spark our curiosity, challenge our assumptions, and inspire us to reach for greater heights.
It's a reminder that we're all part of a grand and interconnected narrative, a story that stretches back thousands of years and continues to unfold with every passing generation.
And who knows what incredible discoveries and innovations lie ahead.
That's the beauty of it. The story is never truly over.
It's up to us to write the next chapter. It's a powerful symbol, of human endeavor.
Right, like a reminder that even the most ambitious projects can be achieved when people work together towards something big.
And it makes you think, doesn't it, about how much we owe to the ingenuity of those who came before us.
Absolutely. As we go deeper into this ancient world's impact on today article, it's amazing to see how much these echoes of the past are still with us.
Yeah, they're not just like interesting historical footnotes or something. They're actually woven into how we live our lives.
It's true. It's like there's this hidden code in our everyday things. Our language, our buildings, even our political systems. You can see these influences everywhere.
I think it's fascinating how even our language has these deep connections to the ancient world. We take it for granted, but language is a complex and expressive system. And did you know the ancient Greeks played a crucial role in developing the alphabet we use?
I have to admit, that one surprised me when I was reading the article.
It's true, though. The Greeks took the Phoenician alphabet and kind of made it their own, They added vowels and made the whole system more efficient, and that's how we got a better way to represent sounds and words.
So our alphabet, like the very foundation of our written communication, goes all the way back to ancient Greece. It's incredible.
It is, and it goes even deeper than that, I'd say. Did you know that more than 150,000 words in English are actually derived from ancient Greek?
Wow, that many. I had no idea.
It's true. Think about words like telephone, microscope, democracy, even philosophy, they all come from the language of Socrates and Plato and all those guys.
It really is like a time capsule, isn't it? Our language carries all these echoes of ancient ideas and concepts.
Exactly. And it's not just about the words themselves, you know? It's how they thought about grammar, how they structured sentences, even how they thought logically. The ancient Greeks had this huge emphasis on logic, reason, and rhetoric, and that shaped how we argue, how we present ideas, even how we talk about intellectual things today.
It's like they created the instruction manual for Western thought.
I like that. And their influence doesn't stop there. We can see it in our art and architecture, too.
It's true. We've talked about those big iconic structures like the Colosseum, the Parthenon, and the pyramids. But I think it's fascinating how those elements of ancient art and architecture are woven into our cities today in more subtle ways. Like you don't even realize it sometimes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Think about all the columns you see on government buildings, banks, museums. It's like they're trying to project a sense of authority, grandeur, and make you think they'll be around forever. And that all goes back to those classical traditions of Greece and Rome.
That's such a good point. It's like they're borrowing that sense of history and weight.
Right. And then there's all the arches and domes and bridges and stadiums. Those are ancient designs, but they're still so practical and beautiful even today.
It's amazing how they took these ancient forms and found ways to incorporate them into modern buildings. It's like a blend of the old and the new.
It's like a conversation, you know? Between the past and the present, it shows how the past isn't just dead and gone. It can still inspire us and guide us.
And speaking of inspiration, I'm really intrigued by all these ancient stories and myths we've been talking about. They still seem to resonate with people today.
Me too. And I think the Greek myths especially have had this lasting impact on our culture.
Well, they're full of drama, intrigue, and these larger-than-life characters, right?
Exactly. I mean, Greek mythology is full of gods and goddesses, heroes and monsters, and those stories have been inspiring artists and writers for centuries.
I love how those stories, they were passed down through generations, and they've just become a part of who we are. What do you think makes those myths so enduring, though? Why are we still so fascinated by them?
It's like they tap into these really basic human experiences, you know? Love and loss, betrayal, revenge, the desire for power, the feeling of fighting against destiny. Those are things that people in every culture, in every time period have struggled with.
It's true. And I think the Greek myths provide this framework, like a way to understand those complex emotions and what it means to be human.
Right. And they also give us this glimpse into how the ancient Greeks saw the world, their beliefs, their values, how they understood the universe. It's like stepping back in time.
Like that myth of Pandora's box.
Exactly. A story about where evil and suffering come from. Or the story of Icarus, you know, the guy who flew too close to the sun. That's a classic cautionary tale.
Those myths are so much more than just stories. They're like these powerful metaphors that can teach us about ourselves and about life.
And the amazing thing is, they're still being reinterpreted and reinvented. You see them in movies, books, graphic novels, even dance performances. Artists are always finding new ways to explore those ancient themes.
It shows how powerful and relevant they still are, even after all this time.
Right. And it's not just the stories themselves, it's the characters too. They've become these archetypes, like symbols of universal human qualities. Think about the hero, like Heracles or Odysseus. They represent courage, strength, and facing danger.
And the wise mentor, like Athena, she's always there to guide the hero.
Exactly. Those archetypes are everywhere, even today. They're part of how we understand ourselves and each other.
Speaking of understanding, I think it's amazing how the ancient world also shaped our ideas about justice and government.
I agree. And we've already talked about the contributions of ancient Greece and Rome, but it's interesting to see how those ideas have evolved over time. It's like a long conversation that's been going on for centuries.
It is. It's like we're building on the ideas that were debated and refined long ago.
Yeah.
Makes you realize how connected we are to the past.
Right. Like the whole idea of democracy, with citizens having a say in their government, that goes back to the ancient Greeks. Of course, Athenian democracy was limited, but it set the stage for the modern democratic systems we see today, with more inclusivity and broader representation.
And don't forget about the Roman Republic, with their ideas about representative government, the rule of law, and separating powers. Those were huge contributions.
They were. And the Roman legal system, you know, with their emphasis on due process and fair trials, that became a model for so many other legal systems around the world.
It's incredible how much we can trace back to those ancient ideas. They really shaped our understanding of justice and how governments should work.
It's important to remember, though, that the ancient world wasn't perfect. They achieved some amazing things, but There were also things like slavery and inequality, things we definitely wouldn't want to bring back.
It's true. We can admire their achievements, but we need to acknowledge those darker parts of their history too.
Absolutely. It's important to be critical and see the whole picture. We can learn from both the good and the bad.
Okay, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about something that might seem a bit mundane compared to pyramids in philosophy. What about infrastructure in the ancient world? They built those impressive structures, but how did they manage everyday things?
You're right. Infrastructure is so important, but it's often overlooked. Think about it. It's the backbone of any society. Trade, communication, sanitation, getting people and goods where they need to go. It all depends on good infrastructure.
I'm imagining those Roman roads, those amazingly straight, durable roads that went all across their empire. They were like the superhighways of the ancient world.
They were. And you know what? The Romans were incredibly skilled engineers and surveyors. They could build those straight roads over long distances, even through really tough terrain. And they used this layered approach to construction, starting with crushed stone, then gravel, sand, and finally those big, flat paving stones on top.
It's like they were building for the ages.
They were. And those roads weren't just for chariots and armies. They also made it easier for people to travel, for merchants to move their goods, for ideas and culture to spread. It all helped to connect the different parts of the Roman Empire.
And all because of a good road system.
It really shows how important infrastructure is. And don't forget about their aqueducts, those incredible structures that carried water from faraway sources into the cities.
The Romans were masters of water management, weren't they?
They were. Those aqueducts were marvels of engineering. They knew how to use gravity and hydraulics to their advantage. And because of that, they could provide clean water for drinking, bathing, and even irrigating their crops. It was all part of how they built these thriving urban centers.
And they didn't stop there. They also built these really sophisticated sewer systems, right? To keep those cities clean and healthy.
You got it. They had this network of underground tunnels and drains to carry away waste and keep the cities sanitary. It's pretty amazing, considering this was thousands of years ago, and they understood how important it was to keep things clean for public health.
It really makes you appreciate the ingenuity of these ancient civilizations and how they tackled those challenges.
I know, right? It's inspiring.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've been focusing on all these tangible things like inventions and buildings, but what about those less tangible legacies of the ancient world? What about their values, their beliefs, those ways of thinking that still resonate with us today?
It's an interesting question. I think one of the biggest things they gave us is this whole emphasis on knowledge and wisdom.
The Greeks, especially, right? With their love of philosophy, logic, and the pursuit of truth.
Exactly. They believed that understanding the world was the key to living a good life, a meaningful life. And there's that famous quote from Socrates, "The unexamined life is not worth living." That idea of self-reflection, of questioning, of always seeking knowledge, that's something that still inspires people today.
It's like a call to constantly learn and grow.
It is. And they also valued things like courage, resilience, and being part of a community.
Like those heroes in Greek mythology. They faced so many dangers and challenges, but they always found a way to overcome them.
Right. And then you have the Romans with their idea of civic duty, this responsibility to contribute to your community and make things better for everyone. That's still something we value today.
It's like these values, these ideas about how to live and how to be, they were forged in those ancient civilizations, and they still have the power to inspire us.
It's amazing, right? We might be separated by thousands of years, but we're still connected to those ancient people through those shared values, the things we aspire to, and that desire to figure out our place in the universe.
It gives you this sense of perspective, doesn't it? Like we're all part of this huge, ongoing story.
It does. And even when we're facing tough challenges, it's good to remember that we're not alone. We can draw on the wisdom and strength of those who came before us. They showed us what's possible.
Yeah, it's humbling, to think about all that history and how it's still shaping our lives today.
It really shows you how much we can learn from looking back, even in a world that's always moving forward. As we wrap up this deep dive into the impact of the ancient world, I'm really struck by this idea that we're all connected across time.
It's so true. It's tempting to think about history as something separate from our lives, but this exploration has shown that these ancient inventions, the ideas, even the artistic stuff, it's still here with us.
It's like a thread that runs through everything.
We've spent a lot of time talking about how those ancient innovations kind of set the stage for our modern technologies. But it goes even deeper than that, right? It's the values, those ways of thinking that have been passed down over centuries.
Absolutely. Like the concept of justice, we talked about those Greek philosophers, Plato and Aristotle, who were wrestling with these questions about fairness, equality, the rule of law. Those weren't just abstract ideas for them, they were thinking about how to build a better society.
And those ideas, wow, they're still so relevant today. They show up in our legal systems, our human rights declarations, even just our everyday conversations about what's right and wrong.
It's like a conversation that's been going on for centuries, and we're all a part of it now.
One of the things that really blew me away during this deep dive was the sheer scale of some of those ancient achievements. I mean, the Great Wall of China, the Roman aqueducts, the Egyptian pyramids. It's hard to wrap your mind around how they pulled that off.
Right. I know. Those projects were massive. They would have taken so much planning, so much coordination. It's incredible what humans can accomplish when they set their minds to something.
And without all the technology we take for granted today, it makes you realize what's possible when people work together and have that determination to create something lasting.
It's inspiring, isn't it? The
Right.
ancient world gives us all these lessons in perseverance and problem solving. We might not face the exact same challenges, but we can learn from their experiences, both their triumphs and their mistakes.
Okay, before we say goodbye, I want to loop back to our listeners. We've been digging deep into this idea of how the ancient world still impacts us today, but really, this is just the starting point.
It really is. We've only scratched the surface here. There's so much more to explore. I hope everyone listening will be inspired to keep digging and see what connections they can find.
Look around, you know? Pay attention to the things you use every day, the ideas that matter to you, even the buildings in your city. And ask yourself, where did all this come from? What are the historical roots? You might be surprised by what you discover.
I bet you will. And you never know, maybe those discoveries will lead to something new, something even better. The past isn't just something to learn about. It can spark creativity and help us make the world a better place.
So well said. This has been such a fascinating journey for me, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed it as much as we have.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring all these connections.
To everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the ancient world. Keep your minds open, stay curious, and don't forget those connections to the past. Until next time, keep exploring.